So this is the Hyundai Genesis G90. Those of you who follow me already know that I made a video about the new Genesis H-Track that we got. And the reason why I didn't bother waiting was because I knew it was going to take a very long time for this car to actually make it onto lots. Now the dealers have actually started getting them. Now you see this right here. I argue with people all the time because they just don't see my point of view. And the simple fact is, it's easy for me to simply dismiss them and continue to push my point of view. I'm looking at this car, I'm looking at the size of this car. Now granted, the light fixtures in my opinion they don't really stand out that much. It kind of looks generic. It looks like it wants to be something in between an Audi, something in between a Mercedes. More likely an Audi, a Mercedes, and a Lexus. But the thing about it is, I'm looking at the sheer size of this car, and I'm thinking to myself, it's like, why the hell can't Lincoln and Cadillac get it right? Because even before I go in there, I already know that this thing has plenty of headroom space because I can see what the roof looks like. It's a good looking car. And if I were to take a look inside, let's look at the back seat. So when I look at this back seat, it looks like, I remember seeing this in the, what was it called? The auto show. They copied a hell of a lot from Mercedes. But the thing about it is, you might as well learn from the competition. Copied a hell of a lot from Mercedes, possibly a lot from Lexus's LX460. One thing that Hyundai cannot be accused of is of not improving. You know, they're not building generic cars. And the thing about it is, like, some people say, oh yeah, well, you don't know what you're talking about. The thing about it is, Hyundai's not building generic cars. They're building cars that are competitive. And I really feel that they understand the American market better than a whole lot of these other manufacturers do. Now, as far as headroom definitely could be a lot better. In fact, I'm having kind of the same issue with this car in the back seat that I had with the, say, the Lincoln Continental. You see my head just rubs over the top. So unless I'm slouching down, I'm not very comfortable in the back seat. Thing about it is, you know, a lot of these cars seem to have that same problem. Apparently nobody has figured out how to copy the S-Class to the point where they're actually going to build it, you know, perfectly large. So I'm a little disappointed right there. Now, can I sit in the back? I can sit in the back, but it's a little tight. My headroom is like, it's just absolutely not good. Now granted, I'm not the average size person, but once again, it's like, strangely enough, the Genesis got it right. But if you notice, there's like a hump in this ceiling. And one thing I noticed that Car and Driver complained about was the fact that this car didn't offer a dual panel moonroof. And a dual panel moonroof is pretty much the standard, pretty much in most of these cars. Because the thing about it is, the more glass and technology they give you, the easier it is to overlook a car's design flaws, if it has any. Now, here you got this, what is this, heated seats. You can move the front seat back and forward, look at that. Most cars are getting things like that when they're this size, and they have any plans to use these things for limousines. And the front seat, here you can move the front of this simultaneously. With this you can move the back pad, or you can just move the cushion itself. Okay, so that's nice. Heated seats only in the back. Don't know why they didn't have cooled seats. I guess they just didn't want to spend the money. Okay, so they got the cup holders, 12 volt, 180 watt power supply here. Got the phone number and whatnot. What is it called? The infotainment system can be used from the back. You can control that yourself here. They have a USB charger for your phone, 12 volt power right here. So they have plenty of power outlets. Leather in this car, the materials in this car, they look very good. And I've seen this before. I think they got a lot of this from BMW, because I've seen this layout before. Like, I'm looking at these, you know, the scallop designs for these seats and everything. And then these pull pads. Lexicon sound system. I always hate it when you have people who try to talk up the talking points about cars. I'm like, oh yes, well we have a Lexicon sound system. It's one of the only cars that has it other than the Rolls Royce. It's like, are you trying to compare this car with a Rolls Royce? Please stop. Just stop. Don't do that, please. You just make yourself look funny. Okay? Alright, so, oh, maybe that's the, that might be the sticker. Oh, yes, it is. This is the sticker. I'm looking at the $71,000, the price tag gets people out of their mind. It's like, I mean, basically this car replaces the Equus, but still, $72,000, $71,550, that's a lot. That's a lot. You have to really love this brand name in order to buy something that costs that kind of money. Now, if you remember, I spent pretty much the same thing for a Jeep. I spent pretty much the same thing for a Hellcat. Neither one of those cars are luxury cars by any stretch of the imagination. The thing about it is they were worth every penny. So the question is, you buy a car like this, you keep it for, let's say, 6 years or something. It's like, you know, we don't know what the early reliability is. We don't know what the long-term reliability is. So it says Powertrain. It comes with a V6, 365 horsepower, twin-turbo V6, which is pretty much, that should be the standard for any car, for any full-size large sedan. All full-size large sedans should come with a twin-turbo V6, and they should have an option for a V8. They should always have an option for a V8. So this thing says, let's see, pretty much everything is included. There really are no real options. That's pretty much how they sold the Equus. They sold the Equus in pretty much only like 2 trims. They sold the Ultimate trim, which had just about everything, and then they sold one that had a little bit less because the back seat package added like $10,000 or something. This one, from what I can see, doesn't have what is it called, seats that rise up for your legs. This one doesn't have that. Caspian black, beige. Says transport as a truck. Yeah, okay. So pretty much it's very straightforward. All the information is pretty much there. It's a $71,550 car. You can also do the same control method right here. Yeah. Okay, so that's the back seat. So once again, you know, I'm being perfectly honest. Unless I'm slouching in this car, my head is pretty much going right through the roof. So, okay, roof in the back, I'm not that happy about. So let's go up to the front. The doors look great. I mean, all of these cars now have like almost the same generic trim cut. Now the Mercedes rises above all that with the S-Class, you know, because they have like the power sunshade. The BMW had the same thing. Like that new BMW 7, I have to say, that is a really, really nice car. Problem is that car costs like $40,000 more, so there's like fewer people who are going to be able to afford it. Okay, look at this. Look at all these buttons. So you know you got some serious adjustments right there. All right. When I was at the auto show, the New York International Auto Show, I pretty much saw the fully loaded version of this car, and I liked what I saw. It was nice. It's really nice. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna adjust it. I have to say, Hyundai, they're making these damn things really damn stylish. Very, very, very stylish. Looks very good. It's very, very good. So, gas tank, trunk, power trunk. What is that? Parking brake, full parking brake. StabiliTrak off. This one is lane avoidance or lane keeping. This one is side spot collision control. When it starts up, you barely hear anything. It's very, very quiet. You don't hear a damn thing. It's very, very ridiculously quiet. But I have to say, the size of that car, it's substantial. It's a very, very big, spacious car. And that's exactly what Cadillac and Lincoln should have been building in the first place. But the problem is, they just don't reach. This thing looks a lot like a Jaguar in many ways, if you really think about it. Why can't Lincoln and Cadillac, and I will say Cadillac did it, but why can't they reach that high? Why can't they be building that car? Why can't they be building the Equus and the K900 with those optional V8s? It's like they're not even trying anymore. This is what the interior looks like when it's a darker color. And in the darker color interior, you know, now you get a chance to see both of them, because the thing about it is they're having a release party, and the release party will allow you to see all the trims and compare all the trims. So they have the obviously the G80, the G90. They'll be bringing all the cars so you can see them all. Now unfortunately it's a rainy day out there, as you can see, so I wouldn't really want to have to take one of these cars out when it's raining, even though that would be a good test of the all-wheel drive system. But overall, as you can see, everything's pretty much good in order. You know, this is how they put the new heated and cooled seats, heated steering wheels here. It's funny that they put the steering wheel right here rather than putting it over here. But basically, I'm telling you, this is exactly the car that Lincoln and Cadillac should be building. Unfortunately, you know, Cadillac built that CT6, and the CT6, in my opinion, is already dated. I prefer the XT5, and the Lincoln Continental just isn't big enough. So you got the mirror controls right there. Pretty much it's all straightforward. You have 3 memory seat options. I don't know what 3 people would be driving this. I guess it's a mother, father, and a child or whatever. And it's very generic. It's very straightforward. This is what the back looks like. It's the same features, pretty much same features. It's a good looking car. So basically, it's actually kind of interesting. They did exactly what they should have done, and Lincoln should have done this, Cadillac should do this. They made the dashboard a sweeping dashboard, and they obviously have been learning their lessons from looking at what Mercedes is doing. They made the entire thing sweep across. It looks absolutely gorgeous. As you can see, this car comes with soft closing motors in the doors in order to ensure a tight seal, even if you softly close the door. I believe the first time I saw this feature was on a BMW 745 Li, or it was on a Mercedes S500, but I saw this feature many years ago. It's one of those things that you associate with a luxury car. Inside, what you find, the G90, as I already mentioned, has a beautiful sweeping dashboard. It has a pretty straightforward control scheme. There's no, fanciful graphics or anything. I mean, the graphics that are there are simple enough. The one major complaint that I have, and you already see it coming, is the fact that it doesn't have a touchscreen. I complain about the lack of a touchscreen simply because the Azera that I leased and the Genesis H-Track that I leased both had a touchscreen. Having a touchscreen is absolutely that should be a standard on any of these cars. I'm talking about Mercedes and BMW, because if you watch my Mercedes BMW comparison with the 7 Series and the S550, you know that I complained over and over and over that those cars didn't have a touchscreen. And you ask, well, why is that important? Well, if you've never used the command system before, or you never tried to use one of these knobs before, you can learn it. It's just that when you're driving, especially if you're in traffic, it's so much easier to be able to simply reach up and touch the touchscreen. A touchscreen should be standard in any navigation infotainment system. All the other stuff is cute and everything, like the knobs and dials and touch pads and numpads. But the simple fact is, I don't use voice commands. I don't like using trackpads. I don't like using the dials that much. It was cool back in 2007 in that S-Class W221 that I had, and then the W222. But the problem is, after you use Chrysler's Uconnect system long enough, or you get used to using a touchpad, you want a touchpad. Now, what I can also say is that the interior is pretty gorgeous, especially if you don't harbor any ill will to cars based on their brand name. The lighting fixtures are lovely. I would say this car actually looks a lot like a Audi A8 because of the grille and the design of the front bumper. As you can see, they have the soft closed doors all around. It's a very substantial, large car. And, you know, it has plenty of space in the trunk. It has a large battery. It has the, what is it called? The spare tire. And they've pretty much done what they could to check all the boxes. There are boxes, however, that are unchecked. For instance, you can't get a panoramic roof yet. Also, there's no touchscreen for the entertainment system, which I think is a big letdown. Most likely, just like the Equus, you'll be able to get the reclining rear bench seat. But so far, it looks great. Like most of the other cars this size being offered on the market today, there's a V6 with twin turbos that offers more than 360 horsepower at full bore. A V8 option with all-wheel drive is available. And the reason why I'm doing this video like this is so I can split up the part where I show you a lot about the car, and then I can edit this part down and I can show you the test drive in the next part of this video. Overall, the G90 is a highly substantial car, $70,000, and it looks great. So what you have here is a silver G90. So this one's silver with the dark colored interior. And as you can see, I mean, this thing, it looks like they've pushed Hyundai to the point BMW used to be with the 745. But I will say that their interiors are actually, in many cases, nicer than what you find in BMWs. Because I'll tell you, one problem I have, BMW's interiors look very bland. I don't care what the materials are. There was only one that's impressed me thus far, and it was the cognac leather in the BMW 7 Series. And the funny thing about BMW is BMW designs its cars from the bottom up, where they start with the 3 Series and then they just make them larger. Mercedes pretty much designs their cars with the S-Class in mind, and then they work their way downwards. So it's like two different design philosophies, but what they do is they have the same sausage, different length philosophy, where basically you're getting almost the same prestige, you're getting the same vehicle, it's just different sizes. And now that you factor crossovers into the mix, and you have Mercedes, which has like damn near several different crossovers based on, you know, cars that are smaller, and BMW does the exact same thing, you know, what you end up with is a lot of variety. And variety is a good thing, because a lot of people don't want cars anymore. A lot of people want crossovers. In fact, wait, let me soft close it. That's pretty freaking cool. It's amazing that like all the stuff that you normally know from Mercedes and BMW is available on Hyundais. It's just absolutely astounding. I'll let you know, this is the 3.3 turbo H-Track. This has a power open trunk, just like the other car. Gigantic trunk, pretty spacious. You can fit just about anything that you need to fit in there. And they all pretty much come with what is it called? This one does not have the spare tire. Or wait, no, actually maybe it does. Oh, and it's just under this. Yeah. Very nice, very nice. Because a lot of cars aren't giving you spare tires because they don't think that you're going to use it anyway. They think that you're just going to call somebody and then you're going to pay top dollar to get a brand new rim if your wheel is busted. And this is the Genesis booklet. I remember when the Hyundai Equus used to give you, what's it called? They used to give you iPads. Now they give you this, what looks like a Bible. The Book of Genesis. So this is the G90. Let me turn this radio down because, as you know, I can't get music that's copyrighted. And now let's turn it on. Yeah, there ain't no rev in these things. Let's turn down the window and listen to it. Let's listen to it. Ooh, listen to that Hellcat power. Listen to that. All of these twin turbo V6s, basically, they're just adequate. They do their job, but that's all they do. They do their job. And that's ultimately, I mean, you know, you can get this with a V8, which, you know, I have to say right off the bat, which is something that, you know, Cadillac should have known, that you should be able to get these things with V8. So I turn on my heat seat, turn it down to 1, because I don't want it too hot. You've got camera views when you push this. Got camera views available. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. As you can tell from what you hear, the Genesis V6 engine in the G90 is 3.3 liters, twin turbocharged. It creates about 380 horsepower. Actually creates more than that, but it depends, how high your rev range is at the time. But overall, the engine pretty much sounds almost identical to the engine in my Genesis H-Track that I got on lease. The car itself sells itself in being a very large, plush-feeling luxury car. I have complained not so much that it feels a little bit generic, as if they decided that they were going to simply benchmark other cars in the class and build a car based on the benchmarks rather than swing for the fences and build their own car. But I have to say, the reason why this car is so awesome and the reason why it's important is because this car represents the nation of South Korea. This is going to be their state car. Rather than having to lease Mercedes S-classes and turn them into guard editions in order to carry around their diplomats, this car is going to be the flagship of South Korea. And now you here in America can grab it for the low cost of $72,000 fully equipped for the V6 with all-wheel drive. I really like the drive of this car better than I like my Genesis H-Track's drive. The Genesis's wheel feels a little disconnected from the road, and the steering doesn't always feel that great. Other than that, they're both fantastic cars. And there's also the G80 in case you don't want to spend this much money. The professional reviews on YouTube, for instance, that I haven't actually watched yet, will pretty much say that the Genesis is a slam dunk. They'll say that this car is 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5 stars. What you can expect is that anyone who speaks about the G90 or even the G80 will most likely say that what they did feel was that the car does feel generic and that it feels like it's trying to compete in a arena that it can't compete in. What I can say is that it's a very large, very comfortable car, but the biggest problem with this car is going to be its price tag. It's not going to be its engines, because fortunately this car comes with turbocharged V6, or it can come with a regular V8 TOR engine, they call it, with the H-Track all-wheel drive system. The problem isn't going to be its power output. Nobody is racing cars this large. Nobody's doing that. This isn't Dubai. This is America. But what's ultimately the problem with this car is its, not its size, but its name equity, its badge. Hyundai has done their best to try to distance Genesis away from Hyundai, because the problem is Hyundai has always been a consumer car manufacturer, and just like Toyota distanced Lexus from itself by calling them luxury exports to the US, which is LEX-US, luxury exports to the US, Hyundai felt that they needed to distance Genesis from the economy car section. When you go to some of these Hyundai dealerships, they look fantastic. They've got like damn near movie theaters, like the one that I've gone to for service. They have it looks like a massive big screen TV. They've got great seats. They want to give you a concierge service so that you understand the reason why you spent that extra to stick with the badge name Hyundai. Now, Mercedes doesn't give you shit. The Lexus in Lynbrook, they got a nail salon and they got a hair salon for the women, because they know there's a lot of women buying their crossovers, the RX series crossover. But Mercedes doesn't give you anything. They tell you, listen, you can either take it or leave it, but this is Mercedes, so you're going to bend to our will. BMW, they give you a little bit more, but Mercedes knows they don't have to give you any deals. Part of the question is, well, what is luxury? I would say that luxury is having a car that's exclusive. It's a car that stands out. It's something that when people see you in it, they know that you're wealthy. They know you can afford it. They know you got money. Now, there's a lot of people able to buy cars that are luxury cars, quote unquote luxury cars, because of, credit, and they lease them and this, that, and other. But when you're rolling around in a car that's this expensive, that badge starts to take on a whole meaning of its own. The Mercedes badge, nobody's ever going to question it. Some people could say, oh yeah, well, the reliability is not that great. The thing about it is either you can afford one of them things or you can't. Lamborghini didn't have great reliability, but guess what? Not everybody could buy a Lamborghini because you just couldn't do it. And that's where this badge equity comes from. Now, most people will say, well, it's stupid to worry about what other people think about you. You should just worry about being comfortable. And to that, I can agree. And in that vein, if you're able to look past the fact that Hyundai's been an economy car manufacturer for all these years, if you're able to look past all that and say, you know what, I'm going to buy this car for me, and I love it, and I love the way it looks, and I'm buying it because it's big and spacious, and because it's got a powerful engine, it's because it's got all-wheel drive, it checks all the boxes. If you're willing to do that, then congratulations. Go after it, buy one. This car is going to cost you about $1,000 a month, which is basically what I pay for my Hellcat or my Jeep SRT. And the insurance is low because it's not a performance car. Go for it. To put the car in park, you have to actually push park. There is R, N, and D, but that is park, just to let you know. And then you push your camera view. Your camera view can stay on, parking sensors, drive mode. And that's what the car pretty much looks like. Nice, solid, smooth drive. It's pretty cool. Like, you can actually see the speed code. See, I wish, well, you know, in time, all these cars are going to have stuff like that. Like, because their safety is, like, the biggest thing. Because people keep running over their kids. You know? What? Yeah, because that's one of the reasons why you see all these backup
Somebody
auto stops.
ran up over to the kid?
Volvos. The reason why Volvos, like, they have those backup cameras is to make sure that you don't hit a kid in your blind spot.
Oh my goodness.
Because there's people who run their kids over backing something out of their yard. And the thing about it is, it's these sensors, that's what they're for. They're for kids. They're not really, they help with the what is it called? They help with the parking. Mm-hmm. But these things are for children. It's like, wow. It's all to make sure that, like, your kids are safe when you're in the yard. You know?
Wow.
As I stated already when I talked about the interior of this car in the last clip that I made, wherever you look, it feels like the Genesis is a premium product. A lot of people will look at these cars and they won't know whether or not they should take a chance on them because they don't know the long-term reliability. But I've had an Azero on lease and now a Genesis H-Track, and I have to say that I hadn't had a single problem with either of the cars. So I have grown a trust of Hyundai's reliability at this point. When you look around, no matter how close you look at things, it seems that every single thing is accounted for. The cut, fit, and finish looks great. It makes you feel like you're in something way more expensive. And they didn't go cheap in places where you are likely to see it. And then the deeper you dig, the more you realize that they didn't go cheap at all. Yes, this is a $72,000 Hyundai. And they don't want to call it a Hyundai. They want to call it a Genesis. But I have to say, they have stepped up their game so much that they deserve to be placed on equal footing with Lexus. You don't hear a damn thing. It's very, very ridiculously quiet. But I have to say, the size of that car, it's substantial. It's a very, very big, spacious car. And that's exactly what Cadillac and Lincoln should have been building in the first place. But the problem is, they just don't reach. This thing looks a lot like a Jaguar in many ways, if you really think about it. Why can't Lincoln and Cadillac, and I will say Cadillac did it, but why can't they reach that high? Why can't they be building that car? Why can't they be building the Equus and the K900 with those optional V8s? It's like they're not even trying anymore. The G90 Hyundai Genesis for 2017 is not going to make a lot of sense to people who want a large car but don't have to ferry around people in the back seat. When you want backseat amenities, this is the car you come look at. Now, I've driven just about every single new offering from the majority of these luxury and entry luxury car manufacturers. I drove the Lincoln Continental. While I did like its seats, I wasn't really impressed with the rest of the car because I felt it wasn't large enough and it should have been flagship size. I drove the Cadillac CT6 and interior felt kind of cheap, even though the car was a pretty good size. Except for the backseat headroom, I felt that a V8 would have been nice, but even if they weren't going to give you that, which they should have, the car kind of had a problem justifying its price tag over the XTS. And that's kind of where I find the G90. The G90 comes with great amounts of technology. I mean, there's the heads-up display, as I showed you. There's the heated and cooled seats, which is pretty much standard on all cars. There are the autonomous features such as the lane keeping assist and the electric steering, and then you've got the 3D surround camera. Now, taking a look at the back seat, as I keep saying the same thing, I was very disappointed to not find a panoramic moonroof. Panoramic moonroof changes the way the rear passenger feels in the car. Now, I'm glad to see the sunshade, which is something that, you know, children would probably benefit from, not having the sun directly on them. The sunshade lights on the small portions of the window that I'm showing you here in a BMW 7 are completely powered, but naturally that's a very expensive part, so that's why that car costs like over $100,000. Here you have to pull it manually, and once you set them up in the first place, you're probably not going to be playing with them, so putting them back isn't really an issue. At the New York International Auto Show that I made a video of earlier this year, they had a fully loaded G90, and they also had the G80, and as some of you know, there's an SUV version coming. These cars are so large you probably wouldn't need the SUV unless you absolutely had to haul cargo that, you know, had vertical height to it. Televisions or monitors are pretty much standard or optional in the backs of just about every luxury, quote-unquote luxury car you can buy now. And it really would have been nice to have monitors in the back of this car. For, you know, these things have just hit the market. They're just hitting the dealers, so you're probably not going to see them for a little while. It would have been nice to have them so I'd have more to show you in the back than just the sunshades and this automatic climate control. But I have to say, I played with every single device, I played with every single toggle, and I came back with nothing more than being impressed. This car really feels as if it's on the same level as a Lexus LS model. And some people hold Lexus in very high regard because of the long-term reliability past warranties. But a lot of people who are leasing these cars don't bother keeping these cars longer than 3 or 4 years anyway, because there's always something new and technology always changes. Eventually the cars are going to drive themselves. But I really liked it. So there you go. That's the G90 and that's the G80. So this is how Honda is going to be threatened, Honda and Acura. I'll tell you right now, I would never buy an Acura, and I never will. The Acura TL was a nice car, but the TLX was an absolute failure. And anybody who can hear the sound of my voice, before you consider buying a TLX, you need to check out a Genesis. And before you even consider buying an RLX, you need to check out a Genesis. And before you even think of buying or leasing an RLX, you damn sure better check out the G90. Because if you go with Acura for the RLX or the TLX instead of the G90 or the G80, you just took that money and you threw it away.